China's economy stayed resilient despite an ongoing trade war with the United States. Data released for the month of April showing stable growth with a mild softening in consumption and investment. Si Hui with this report.
A picture of calm painted by China's National Statistics Bureau. The country's production and demand, as well as overall employment, largely remained stable. Retail sales of consumer goods grew 5.1% year-on-year, despite missing analyst estimates of 5.5%. Service industry production also increased by 6%, with fixed asset investment growing 4% compared to the year before.
总的来看，4月份 外部冲击影响加大，但宏观政策协同发力，主要指标平稳较快增长，国民经济延续向新向好态势。
Officials cited key factors like the consumer trade-in programs, increase in tourist and transportation flows, as well as the Belt and Road Initiative as stabilizing forces. While they're confident of steady economic growth, analysts remained cautious.
If you look into the details of the industrial activities, you'll realize that, for example, the textile output is actually being hit hard by the tariffs, which kind of reflect the impact of tariff on China's domestic industrial activity. And second thing is, which is more concerning to me, is that if you look at the car industry, automotive industry, even if they're facing more tariffs globally, however, investment from Chinese enterprises into this industry remain really, really strong. So that points out potential overcapacity issues.
房价运行总体稳定。那从环比来看呢，4月份70个大中城市当中的1、2线城市新建商品住宅销售价格环比持平，3线城市略有下降。那么从同比来看，4月份70个大中城市当中呢，各线城市的商品住宅销售价格同比降幅是继续收窄。
While there isn't a direct link between the trade war and housing market, analysts say trade shocks are yet to be reflected. The imminent trade impact on labor market and income growth will indirectly affect house purchases. So China may prioritize job stabilization, especially in the construction sector, which employs a majority of rural migrant workers. Analysts see more downside risk ahead.
The sense of uncertainties will continue to drag on private investment, employment, and consumption decision. And from another perspective, the delay of introduction of a bigger stimulus package will be another downside risk to China's economy because it takes time for the stimulus policy to translate into economic activities.
The fiscal package is likely to be directed at the overall labor market, specifically export producers. Expectations are also mounting for China to double down on science and technology investment to improve self-reliance in the semiconductor and high-tech industries amid the U.S.'s export controls. Si Hui, CNA, Beijing.
Global investment banks are raising their forecast for China's economic growth. The trade deal between Washington and Beijing reached just over a week ago slashed neutral tariffs on goods for at least 90 days. Goldman Sachs revised its projection for growth this year from 4 to 4.6%, saying it sees the risk of miscalculation by both sides being more contained now. While banks generally applauded the pause on sky-high tariffs and raised their growth estimates, Commerzbank says it was still too early to tell if the truce will actually hold, while Nomura warned Beijing could still find it hard to hit growth targets without a sizable stimulus package. The Japanese investment bank said front-loading of trade is likely to be followed by a significant payback effect after the 90-day pause on sky-high tariffs ends on the 12th of August, and Beijing might feel less pressure to carry out needed stimulus and reforms if it sees respite on the trade war. And for more, Hao Hong, an economist at Huafu International, shares his insights on China's recent economic data.
Economic numbers are somehow slightly less than expected, but I think the industrial output is still very strong. This is because exporters are still trying to catch time, to ship their products overseas, and also, overseas buyers, especially those from the Americans, are still trying to stock up, just in case that the tariff negotiation goes bad. So I think, in the months of April, we're seeing very strong set of industrial output numbers. the manufacturing sector is receiving strong investments as well. So the investment growth in the sector is substantially higher than expected. But I think consumption is still very slow, and that could be seasonal as well. Because during the Spring Festival in the first quarter, traditionally is a strong consumption quarter. And also during the first quarter, the government actually hand out coupons and also consumption subsidies for people to spend money. So I think in the first quarter this year, we see a very strong set of consumption number. But then going into this second quarter in April, we're seeing a slight slowdown. So I think the overall picture remains more or less the same as the first quarter. Production very strong. Consumption without the subsidies from the government is not nearly as strong as it should be. And that is hindering, or it's actually showing how difficult or how challenging it can be to transform the Chinese economy from investment production-based economy to a consumption-based economy.